What is up, everybody? How's it going? Austin prechtelevate Performance, coming at you live. Happy Friday, everybody. TGIF. Hope you're having a good day so far. As you are tuning in, let me know how your day is going. Let me know how your day is going. Right now, Facebook's being kind of weird, so I can't really tag people in my lives right now. So, if you happen to see this, feel free to give it a like. Let me know that you saw it. But what we're going to be talking today is something that I think is really interesting because it's actually come up. I had the thought the other day. I was like, oh, when I was benching, I was like, it's been like, it's coming up on when I actually like tore my pec, which happened 3 years ago, and so I figured why not talk about it and talk about um, the a little bit of the mindset behind experiencing something like that, because probably for a lot of us there's been a point in time where we've either gotten really sick or we got injured, or whatever it may have been, where we faced adversity that felt like a huge obstacle in that got in our way when it came to our goals. And so I'm going to talk about what happened to me 3 years ago, and how I kind of worked through it when it ended up happening. But as you were tuning in, let me know how your day is going, and feel free to give this video a like so that way I know that you saw it. But what is your guys' like take on that? Like, how have you ever been hurt before? Have you ever been like injured before, or like really sick, where you couldn't be active like you wanted to be? Because like I have a couple of times for sure. And when it happened, it was pretty demoralizing. It was pretty it makes you feel incapable. It makes you feel kind of weak, or makes you feel um, it's weird having something that you really care about taken away from you. And for me, that was the gym. For me, that was like my identity for a long time, and to not be able to participate in the thing that I really associated a large portion of my identity to was really hard. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how I tore my pec. I'm going to just kind of like take you guys through what happened, and then also take you through kind of like the mindset that it took to get out and push through and work through that adversity, because it was really freaking hard. It was really freaking hard, if I'm being honest. And so, yeah. So, backstory. 3 years ago, Austin was working out. We were living in Vancouver at the time, and I was a stay at home dad at the time. And I went to the gym to go work out. Thankfully, it was on a weekend, I believe. Or it was on a day that Jessica had off. And so, thankfully, I I don't think that the baby was at the gym at the daycare that day. But what happened was is that I was, I believe, bulking at the time. I was in kind of like a bulking phase, a building phase, and so I was doing this new bench press program, basically, that was following, where I was really trying to like build up, my strength, really build up my bench press. And so I was really wanting to like at that time I was like, ooh, like it would be really cool if I could, get to a place where I could start bench pressing like 300 pounds. Like that would be really cool. That's like kind of like, once you bench a plate on each side, the next like big goal for a lot of like, bodybuilders, or like even like powerlifters and things like that, is like, getting two plates, which is 225. But then like, oh, like if you could break through 300 or like 305 and have like three plates on, it's like, that's like another like level. And not three plates, but like, like break past that 300, 305 mark. That's like a big milestone for a lot of people, when it comes to, strength training and things of that nature. And so for me, at that time, I was working on building up my strength. I was doing a new benching program that me and my brother were kind of following along, that we'd kind of built out for ourselves. Um, and I was hitting chest, like two or three times a week. I'd never really had any like severe problems with my chest before, where I, injured it or anything like that. I'd hyperextended it a couple times when I was younger, in college, but like I never had any sort of issues. And so, I was, going for it, and I was benching, and at that time, like my max was like 265. I could bench 265. That's not that bad. That's pretty good. Nothing crazy impressive, but I could bench pretty well. And so I was doing uh I think 235 or 245 that day, going for like 5x5s. And so I was attempting it, and I'd done it the like 3 days before prior, no issues at all. But something about that day felt weird. Like when I did my first, I think I did my first set, and I was like, oh, okay, that felt good, but it felt kind of funny. And I wish I would have listened to my body. If you feel like there's something going on with you, if you feel like there's something wrong, or like you got like a weird feeling or an icky feeling about something, like, trust your gut. Maybe don't push it. But I was like, I said I was going to do something, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the program. I was just like, I'm fine. And I went up for the bench press, and I lifted it off just fine. But as soon as I like came down with it, not on the downward motion of it, it just like felt like guitar strings. Just I felt like a burning, searing pain in my chest, and it was like I could feel like the like almost if you could picture like guitar strings snapping, like doo 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 doo, that kind of thing, just in my pec, and just and it came down on me. And I had like 240. I like because it was just my other arm could not support it, and it just came down on me, and I had the bench on my chest, and I was like sitting there. I was just like, oh my god, like in the most excruciating pain I probably ever felt. In terms of just like acute pain. It was just sitting there, just like I can't move. I can't do this. Like I couldn't like move my I had like a dead arm laying next to me. Like my arm was dead, and I was just laying there on the bench, just like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't I couldn't really make noise for help because the weight was on my chest, and I was just like, somebody help me. And it was really honestly a little bit, not even, I wasn't even embarrassed at my moment. I was just like, I don't want to fucking die. Like, somebody get this shit off of me. And like two people came to try and like one guy came to try and help, and he wasn't strong enough to get it off of me. And he like, I still remember like because he was trying, and he like I'm like pushing with one arm. He's got both of his arms, and he's like lifting it off, and like he couldn't get it off of me, and so he like and he dropped it again, and so I had the bench like fall and hit me again. Was like laying on my chest. I was just like sitting there. I was like, I'm fucking dead. Like it's like I know I was probably gonna be okay because people noticed now, and so that guy went and got help. But like in that moment, I'm in the gym. I have had this like 245 pounds dropped on me twice now. Like I got a dead arm laying next to my body, like next to me. I can't move my arm. I'm just sitting there. I'm like this is like not a good. This is not good. This is not a good time. And so what ended up happening was, uh, they finally, like two or three other people came and lifted the bar off of me, put it on the rack, and after that, I was just sitting there. I was like, I was a little shaken up. I was just like, whew, not. I don't think it was ever really a near death experience or anything like that, but it was definitely one of those things where I was just like, whew, man, like I can't move my arm. Clearly, something is bad has happened. I've very much likely torn my pec. And it's stupid and it's silly, but the first thing I thought was like, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to be able to lift tomorrow. That was like my initial thought, was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to be able to lift tomorrow. Rather than like, I was not thinking long term impact. I was thinking like, oh my gosh, this is going to mess up my workout tomorrow. Very very short sighted in the moment, kind of thinking that I was having in that moment, but. I was like, I need to go to the doctor. I need to go to the hospital. I need to get this shit looked at because I can't I like imagine like if your arm is asleep, except every time you try to move it, it's an excruciating pain. And like I couldn't like I literally I could do this maybe. I could not move my arm without being in excruciating pain. And so ended up going to the hospital. Ended up going to the hospital, got things checked out, and they put my arm in a sling. And that's the one thing. If you guys ever get injured, if you ever get injured, make sure that you get seen by somebody as soon as possible, and make sure you get seen by an actual professional and not just somebody from a hospital, because this is something that I regret big time. Is that like I went and got checked out, and like the hospital staff was extremely incapable in terms of like recognizing what was actually wrong and recognizing what I should have actually done in terms of like active recovery to potentially get things like fixed better. Because after that happened, they just put me in an arm sling and gave me pain meds and told me to go home. And so, and in doing so, that ended up uh, probably impacting my recovery time a lot because I did not get the care that I probably needed in that moment. And so, advocating for yourself big time if you get injured or you're really sick, like just advocating for yourself is something that I would always um, emphasize the importance of, because it's super important that we only get one body. We only get one body, and you know who knows? I might never have full strength and capacity for my pec again. I might not, because that's the point I kind of want to come up to, is that like I'm still working on fixing it. I'm still working on get it making it stronger and things like that. It's not fully recovered even 3 years later down the road. And that's kind of leads to my next point, is like, like we only have one body, right? Take care of your body if you can, like as best you can. Um, like I would honestly, I would, if I could, I would pay whatever price it would take at this point to have that fixed, right? To have that had never had happened before, right? Prevention is key, but like and that comes from being proactive about it. But like, if I could pay to what I would give up, like 3 fingers on my hand if it meant my pec could be back to normal, just because it did impact my ability to and it has impacted my ability to bodybuild and stuff like that. And so it's one of those things that just be proactive, guys. Be proactive about that stuff. But that leads to my next point, is that after that kind of stuff happens, you gotta move forward from it, right? You gotta move forward from it, and do your best to like not give up in those situations. Got to get back to unwork for what? Okay, sounds good. Yeah, absolutely, Thalen. I appreciate you for tuning in. And so in that moment though, right? Like, we've all been injured in the past. We've all had something bad happen to us where we got hurt or whatever it may have been. Some may be severe, some maybe not so severe. But in those moments, it feels very demoralizing. Like for me, like I was like, I cannot do anything like workout wise. I could barely work out legs because even just the pressure of like, I couldn't hold dumbbells. I couldn't have a bar sitting on my back because even just like the stretching of like having to, like, it was bad. Um, and it was very demoralizing. I went from benching 265 to barely being able to. I couldn't bench 2.5 pound dumbbells in my hands without being in terrible pain. It was awful. And so that was demoralizing. Being at home, I felt very incapable. I felt very weak. I was, like I said, I was a stay-at-home dad at the time. I couldn't even carry my kid. I couldn't even carry my kid with that arm. Like, Jessica still had to work. Like, and in those moments, I had to, like, I was having to do like one arm diaper changes where I would have to lay my kid on the floor and like try and like do, because this arm was dead. I couldn't put deodorant on. I couldn't like put on the side of my body. I couldn't like put my seatbelt on. Like, it sucked, and it was very demoralizing to go from some feeling like at my strongest, at my best, to being unable to do the bare minimum in those moments. And so we've all been there before. We've all been there before. And so in those moments, it's just one of those things that you have to focus on, like progressing, right? You have to focus on taking it day by day. You have to focus on, the long game at that point. And sometimes it takes something crazy like that to happen to realize that. But in that moment, right? In that moment, whenever that ended up happening to me, like, and kind of like, this is a good segue. Like I said, like, it hasn't fully recovered even still. It hasn't fully recovered even still. It's been 3 years, right? And that's to emphasize. And I want to say, like, this shit takes time. Like, things take time. Recovery takes time from, an injury. Losing weight in your journey is going to take time. It is going to take longer than you think it's going to. In that moment, I was like, ah, yeah, I hurt myself, but like, I'll be back at it in a couple months. I'll be fine. I'll be fully, like, I'll be good to go. No, I'm not. And I'm okay with that now. In the moments like when it was happening, I was very frustrated. Right, I was very frustrated with my progress. I ended up getting depressed from it. I gained weight. There are other factors going on at play too. Like, I was a new parent. Now that was tough, and like I was trying to find work and things like that. So there are a lot of factors at play that led to that. But it was definitely one of those things where I lost a big chunk of my identity with what I associated myself with. And maybe that's happened to you in the past if you've ever gone through like an injury or a chronic injury or that prevented you from doing something that you really loved or cared about. Maybe it was a sport. Maybe it was, maybe you really like to paint or whatever and you hurt your hand and like you couldn't do that. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it makes you stop and think and look internally at like, like what are my values or like who am I, right? Like what like what like what kind of like what kind of person am I? Like, like in my mind at that time I was like, I am bodybuilder. I lift weights. That's who I am. And I took the injury that ended up happening, um, and kind of turned it into a positive and into an opportunity to learn more about myself and learn more about what I actually, enjoyed outside of just me, meathead Austin, me bodybuild, me do this, and in doing so, found a deeper passion and connection to being a dad, right? To being a dad, to being a better dad, to being a better partner, to, in those times, like I got into cooking, I got into like, plants and things like that, like a lot more so than I had been in the past because it's like I might not be able to focus as much on my passion or my growth or whatever in this one area of life, but I can do other things, right? I can still, after a certain point I was like, okay, I can start to hit legs now, or I can start, and every day I like, trust me, like I woke up every morning thinking about working out. I woke up every morning thinking about like, like is today going to be the day that I can actually like, curl some stuff or like, get in the gym a little bit and then actually move some stuff around and it not hurt a lot. And eventually that time came, and that time came because I was consistent about, constantly trying to, progress in that area, going to like physical therapists, going to all these other things. And so, it takes time though. It does take time. But I can assure you, as long as you do not freaking give up, it will be worth it. And so, after time, it was one of those things where, um, you know, it has recovered quite a bit. Like, I can bench again. Not very heavy, but I can bench again. I remember the moment that I ended up going to the doctor, because it was interesting is that I had a partial tear, but it was pretty much one of the worst kinds of partial tears that you can have. So it didn't actually fully come off my bone or anything like that. But what had happened is that there was probably some underlying defect in my body from whatever reason. Could be even and likely may have been genetics, at play, but I had, basically where the, like, I'm trying to think specifically, like axillary wall of my pec basically. So I have like instead of it coming off like a joint or like off of bone or whatever, like a tendon snapping or whatever, I literally have like an internal like, like tearing. And in doing so, there's like a lot of nerve pain and stuff like that associated with it. And so, it ended up being, not ended up being in a bad place, and so, it's one of those things where, I finally got the good news like from my doctor at the time, like once we got here, a little over, it's been about a year and a half now, where they said like, you're good to bench, like things are structurally intact, you've got like a black box of pain going on right now from nerves, but you're good, like you can go work out, you can go bench. And whenever, having that answer and having that like, confirmation that like I could actually do this, like it gave me that like confidence that, I can do this, like this is a possible thing, like I can, I might not be able to be at my strongest, but like I can still, lift weights, I can still bench, I can, I might not be able to ever hit a PR again and or break past 265, but like, I don't really care about that, like I don't like, it made me realize what was actually important to me. And for me it's, having the choice and having the capability of actually being able to work out in the first place. And so, it's one of those things like, don't take your body and for granted. Don't take your body for granted, because like that's something that I definitely did take for granted, was being able to do these things, um, that I wasn't able to do for almost a year and a half, 2 years, like, and still, struggle with. And it's one of those things like, you really need to like take care of yourself. If you've got a capable body right now, or if you've got a body that's like, that you're putting into that you're treating like crap right now, like you need, the sooner you can stop doing that and the sooner you can like turn things around and start working on, working on these things to get your body to a healthier place, the better off you're going to be. Like it's not fun being being like unable to like use parts of your body to like do simple tasks and things like that. And so yeah, just word of the wise, like one, like, and I think some takeaways from this, I think, are, adversity. We will always, at some point in our lives, we're all gonna be faced with adversity. What form it takes, doesn't necessarily matter. It's gonna be different for everybody. But in those moments of adversity, like, just keep pushing forward, keep going forward. Like, don't stop. Like, don't be satisfied with the bare minimum, or don't be satisfied with just accepting it like outright. Like, I truly believe that there is, like, if there is a problem, there is a solution. It just might take some digging. Like, I had gotten to the point where, like, no lie, like, I was so frustrated with with my progress and with how things were, like, not improving and things like that. It came to a point where I was just like, like I was like looking up like everything. I was like, every day I was researching stuff on like Google Scholar, like, about this stuff, and I was like, I, if it comes to it, I'm gonna order some, like, I might order some like peptides from like China or some shit to try and get this shit fixed. Like, I was looking up everything. Like, I was trying to figure out, like, I was considering like platelet injections. Like, I was like, like, everything. I was like, how can I get my hands on like whatever I need to get my hands on to get my shit fixed? Like, because it comes down to wanting it bad enough, and are you going to settle for less? Are you going to settle for the bare minimum? Are you going to settle for being in a life of like struggle or pain, or just accepting, like, that you're stuck? Like, no, like when you're faced with adversity, you need to, like, it's a moment to step up and have your struggle create like strength in your life, or you're gonna get stomped out by it. And so when that stuff happens to you, whenever you do inevitably face adversity, just know and just take it day by day, and have a I'm going to get through this and do whatever it takes mindset to succeed. Um, because at the end of the day, like, that's what it's going to take, and it's going to be hard sometimes. Like, I'm not saying like every day I was like I'm gonna crush it today, I'm gonna kill. Like, there were days where I was like I was like crying like in my bed because I was like, I can't move my arm. Like, this shit sucks. Like, why did this have to happen to me? Like, woe is me. Like, and being like in a victim mindset. And I will tell you, like, being in that victim mindset, like, didn't get me anywhere. It did not get me anywhere. What did get me like through that is just like letting myself have that time to feel bad about it, but, like, always having it in the back of my mind that I'm gonna do something about it, right? Um, and so, hey Lonnie, bit of like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, feel free to watch the replay too. I'm just talking about my pec tear story. But when faced with adversity, I mean, I've been faced with it multiple times in my life where I've gotten extremely sick, and I couldn't lift weights for like 3 months, and I was on opioids and shit like that, and that wasn't fun either. And it's one of those things where, like, if you're going through something like that, like, taking it day by day and just focusing on progress, not perfection, like, that is one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself to really, like, power through it in those moments. And in terms of, like, another takeaway that I would say from this is just like, this shit's gonna take time. Like, it's probably gonna take longer than you think it's going to. Whether that be a weight loss journey, whether that be recovering from an injury, whether that be recovering from like even like drug or alcohol abuse or anything like that. Like, it's probably going to take longer than you think it's going to. You're probably going to slip up and have moments of weakness. But those, we can turn those moments of weakness into moments of strength by not letting it, like, completely derail. You only fail if you quit entirely. You only fail if you quit entirely. Like, that's the key, is like, and as long as you're not willing to accept failure, like, and just get back on the horse and just keep trying, like, that's the key, is just like consistently trying day by day. And sometimes you're gonna fail, sometimes you're not. But I don't think you truly ever fail unless you, like, fully quit and never return to trying to get better about it. So yeah, so that's all I got for you guys today. That's like, and shit happens sometimes, and I assure you, you will be faced with adversity one day. I hope it's not. I hope it's minimal. But one thing is guaranteed, that we all kind of go through in life is some form of adversity. Whether it be physical or mental or emotional, it's going to happen to all of us at some point. And the more open we are to to these things in terms of like, having this conquering adversity mentality, and not accepting failure. The more likely you are to actually power through it and succeed. And you will succeed through it one day. In one way or another, you will either mentally conquer your struggle or you will physically conquer your struggle. And maybe it'll be both. But at that, you're going to find out a lot about yourself and how bad you actually want something whenever you're faced with, um, you know, not being able to do it ever again if you don't actually work on it. So, yeah. Take care of your bodies. You only get one. And I hope that this was helpful. If you're somebody who's struggling with something right now, whether that be like physically or mentally or whatever it may be, like just know that it's a temporary storm that you got to weather. And once you weather it, it may fuck up your building, right? It may mess up your house. It may tear things up. But as long as you make it through it, you're going to come out on the other side knowing a little bit more about that like storm, and knowing a little bit more about that storm, you're going to be able to build your building stronger than the time before, and in doing so, like you're just building a stronger version of yourself through that adversity, and that's pretty freaking cool. So hope this was helpful, hope that this was a little insightful. I just wanted to come on here. I noticed that it was my it's been 3 years since all that shit happened, and I figured it was a good moment to kind of reflect and talk about it and talk about how far, what can be accomplished in that period of time. It kind of comes back to that quote: is like we overestimate what we can accomplish in a day, but we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year, or two or three. And in those moments, got to focus on the long term goal, not the short term. Like, yeah, in that moment, like it felt shitty to not be able to do anything day by day, but slowly over time, each month that passed, I got a little bit stronger with my pec. I got a little bit stronger with my mindset. I found out a little bit more about who I truly am, and what I identify with, and what I actually, who I am as a person, and not solely the fact that I just lift weights. And so it's one of those things, like you can it's all about perspective, and you can turn any bad situation into something positive. And I am grateful for my adversity. I'm grateful for and having gratitude with it. Like, I'm grateful that I went through all that shit. I'm grateful that I've had bad things happen to me, because it made me a stronger person at the end of the day. And because of that, I am who I am today. So yeah, hope you guys got value from this. Hope this was helpful. That's all I got for you today. Happy freaking Friday. Hope you have a good weekend. Let me know your number one takeaway. Let me know if you are someone who is struggling with something right now, with adversity, and if so, how you're planning to conquer it. If you have gone through adversity in the past and you did conquer it, feel free to share in the comments about how you did that, and what it was, and provide some hope for other people, and inspiration for other people, because everybody's going through shit. And we may not know what it is specifically, but I guarantee you everybody's got something that they're going through at some point or another, and you never know what you say might help inspire, or help somebody get through their day. So hope this was valuable, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye, guys.